France has just placed more than a third of the country under its highest heat alert. Temperatures are climbing above 40 degrees Celsius. Schools are closing. Public events face restrictions. Rail operators warn that critical infrastructure is under stress. Authorities have deployed thousands of emergency workers. And this is not happening in July or August. It is happening in June. That is what makes this story so significant. Europe has experienced heat waves before, but what is unfolding right now is not simply another hot summer. It is a warning sign that climate change is beginning to reshape how European societies function, how governments plan, and how economies operate. The real story is not the temperature itself. The real story is that one of the world's most developed regions is discovering that its infrastructure, institutions, and public services were built for a climate that no longer exists. And the consequences could stretch far beyond Europe. If you want to watch more such daily updates on global politics and international affairs, make sure to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe. To understand why, we first need to understand what is happening. France's National Weather Service has described the current heat wave as one of exceptional severity and duration. Temperatures have already crossed 40 degrees Celsius in many areas, with some regions expected to approach 42 degrees or even higher. The government has issued red alerts across dozens of departments, affecting millions of people. More than 800 schools have announced closures, while thousands more have altered schedules. Emergency services have mobilized nationwide. The heat wave extends beyond France. Italy has expanded heat warnings across major cities. Spain expects temperatures approaching 44 degrees Celsius in some regions. The United Kingdom could challenge its all-time June temperature record. In short, this is not a French problem. This is a European event. And that brings us to the first major revelation. The first revelation is that Europe's infrastructure was never designed for this level of heat. Most people associate extreme heat with the Middle East, South Asia, or parts of Africa. Europe traditionally focused on protecting people from cold winters rather than prolonged extreme heat. That assumption no longer works. Rail systems offer a perfect example. France's national railway operator has already warned that air conditioning systems and rail infrastructure face severe stress. Heat causes steel tracks to expand, electrical systems to overheat, and transportation networks to become less reliable. Schools face similar challenges. Many European schools lack modern cooling systems because policymakers never expected temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius to become a recurring threat. Cities face the same problem. Large urban areas absorb and retain heat through concrete, asphalt, and dense construction. This phenomenon, known as the urban heat island effect, makes cities significantly hotter than surrounding rural areas. As temperatures continue rising, governments may need to redesign transportation systems, schools, housing, and public spaces. And that creates a much bigger challenge than simply surviving one heat wave. Because Europe now faces a long-term adaptation problem. But infrastructure is only part of the story. The second revelation is that extreme heat is becoming a national security and economic issue. When people hear heat wave, they usually think about discomfort. Governments think about productivity, healthcare capacity, food supplies, and economic losses. Extreme heat reduces labor productivity, particularly in construction, agriculture, logistics, and manufacturing. Workers cannot safely perform the same tasks when temperatures approach dangerous levels. Energy systems also come under pressure. Air conditioning demand rises sharply. Electricity consumption increases. Power grids face heavier loads. At the same time, drought conditions often reduce hydroelectric power generation and place additional stress on water supplies. This creates a dangerous cycle. Countries need more electricity precisely when environmental conditions make energy production more difficult. Healthcare systems also face significant pressure. Heat-related illnesses increase. Emergency services receive more calls. Vulnerable populations face higher risks. The elderly, young children, and people with existing medical conditions become particularly vulnerable. France learned this lesson painfully during the devastating European heat wave of 2003, which caused tens of thousands of deaths across the continent. European governments understand those risks. That explains why France's Prime Minister convened emergency meetings, and why authorities deployed thousands of emergency personnel. But even these economic and health challenges point toward something even larger, because the third revelation extends far beyond Europe itself. The third revelation is that climate change is becoming a geopolitical force. For decades, climate discussions focused mainly on environmental protection. Today, climate increasingly influences economics, migration, energy security, and national resilience. Extreme weather affects food production. It influences water availability. It changes energy demand patterns. It shapes infrastructure investment decisions worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Countries that adapt successfully may gain economic advantages. Countries that fail to adapt could face repeated disruptions. Europe now finds itself on the front line of this reality. The continent has historically warmed faster than the global average. Scientists increasingly warn that heat waves will arrive earlier, last longer, and become more intense. This means governments can no longer treat extreme heat as an occasional emergency. They must plan for it as a recurring feature of national life. And that requires enormous investment. Governments will need stronger power grids, more resilient transportation networks, better cooling systems, upgraded water infrastructure, and redesigned urban environments. Those investments will shape public spending priorities for years to come. The implications are enormous. For Europe, this heat wave serves as a stress test for infrastructure and governance. For global markets, it highlights growing climate-related risks that can disrupt transportation, agriculture, energy production, and labor productivity. For developing countries, Europe's experience demonstrates that even wealthy nations struggle when climate conditions exceed historical norms. For the rest of the world, the lesson is simple. No country can assume that past weather patterns will define future realities. The challenge no longer involves predicting whether extreme heat will occur. The challenge involves determining how societies adapt when it becomes normal. That is why this heat wave matters. It is not just a weather event, it is a glimpse into the future operating environment of modern states. And if one of the world's richest and most technologically advanced regions is scrambling to cope, every government on Earth should pay attention. Because Europe's biggest climate challenge is no longer preparing for the future has already arrived.